It's July, and if you're an artist, you know what that means. Art fight time, baby. I'm super hyped. I'm going to lock in my style, and it's going to be a really good time. There's literally nothing that could go wrong. I lied. It's not fun. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do art fight anymore. Hi, I'm Kit, and today I'm going to be ranting about my personal gripes with art fight. So without further ado, grab yourself something to drink, something to do, and let's get started on this video. First things first, thank you so much for all the love and support on my Homestuck video I posted like 3 months back. I expected less than nothing from it, so I was really pleasantly surprised that a lot of people actually ended up liking it. Did have the adverse effect of giving me performance anxiety, which is why I haven't done anything in 3 months. But that's a me issue. Skill issues and all that. But you know, that's not what today's video is about. Maybe that's for a future video. Who knows? I don't care. Let's get on with the actual video. So there is nothing intrinsically bad or evil about Art Fight. It's just a huge art trade with a point system and some teams, and it's, you know, it's a fun time. There are some rules that are a bit controversial or unpopular. I'm not really gonna get into that because I don't know what the historic rules are because I just don't pay attention. And of course there are people on the site who are like, ew. But that's really any social media. You're gonna get that on your Twitters, you're gonna get that on your Tumblrs, you're gonna get it on your toy houses, so of course you're gonna get it on your Art Fight. But aside from that, Art Fight's really great. There's no entry fee, it's accessible to everyone of any skill level. I think it's as good as it can be without becoming an authoritarian hellscape. Now, that being said, this is my channel, and as the name implies, I am Kit and I must rant. And what I want to rant about is about the things in Art Fight that make me not want to participate. Now, these come in a variety of layers on why they demotivate me. There's my own personal biases or issues, and then there's issues I have with other users, particularly their behavior. There are some site issues that exist, but I think most of the time they're either a necessary evil or they're exacerbated by other issues I'll mention. But I will bring some of them up because they do get on my nerves. So first off, let's talk about my own personal Art Fight demons. And no, I'm not just talking Miyuko. I understand the point system for Art Fight. It's very easy. It's literally just check all the boxes that apply, and it does all the calculations for you. Well, with the exception of background, I'm a little confused by that one, just because, like, there's like 3 things per category, but that's on me. Everything else, crystal clear. And hell, I'm even all for the little polished checkmark for when you think you did really good. Better than usual, even. However, I will say, personally, I don't love grading my own work. Point blank period. I've always hated it. I will always hate it. And especially, I hate seeing the points in the huge freaking font under the submit button. I really wish I was able to turn off point calculation. Not that I wouldn't get the points, but just that I didn't have to see it. Because I draw indiscriminately on Art Fight, meaning I don't care if we're on the same team. If I like your character, I'm gonna draw your character. Which means I end up drawing a lot of people who are on the same team as me, and as such, I will get the friendly fire point reduction. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing full body, full shading, background, clean lines. Because I have the automatic point reduction of 25%, it means that the highest score I can get while drawing a single character is like 63 points. And I don't even care about being on like the winning team or anything. Like I said, this is a just for fun event, but I've always been a really high achiever, so seeing a low score on something that I put my heart and soul into is just always gonna suck. And I am a lot better with this now that I've gone to college and been graded on my art, but that doesn't mean that it's ever anything I actually enjoy. And especially because at least in school, a low grade correlates with what I can improve. Meanwhile, on Art Fight, it's just because I drew a friend. So as soon as I post a piece, if it's friendly fire, of course, I already get a low arbitrary grade, despite being like, hey, I followed the rubric, I thought it looked pretty good. And like I said, me issue does not mean it doesn't suck. But you know, that's really just an appetizer. I could get over that if that was the only thing. Moving on from that, sometimes you'll make a piece, post it, and nothing really happens. Even though Art Fight feels like it should be the antithesis of social media posting deathscape, it really isn't. You can post a drawing, and if the person you're attacking doesn't comment or revenge it, that's it in most cases. For the most part, those are really the two forms of interacting on the site. Some people really hate writing comments, and even when they do, it's like overly generic and feels super impersonal. Trust me, I get that. I also hate writing comments. I'm so awkward with it. And if someone doesn't do revenge, or maybe they just don't click with your characters, maybe they only draw anthro and you only have human, whatever that, then you just don't really get a response of anything. And that really does suck, because if you're like me and you need some kind of feedback, even if it's just a, hey, I saw this, neat. If you don't get that, it feels like you're being ignored. And yeah, I know you can comment on other people's posts that has nothing to do with you, but a lot of people don't. So sometimes, yeah, you'll just post something and nothing happens, and you're like, wow. And of course, I get the idea that you shouldn't be making art for someone to get something out of it. I understand that that's not a healthy mindset. It's not a realistic mindset. However, I don't think it's too crazy to want some type of reaction of drawing someone else's character. I don't know, maybe I'm the crazy one here. Personally, if I'm not getting feedback, I assume I'm doing something wrong. And then that in turn demotivates me, because nobody wants to be doing something wrong. And then it gets harder to jump back in, because I don't want to mess someone else's character up if I upset this person. So just as the month progresses, I'll just slowly stop doing pieces. Maybe by the end of the month, I'll do another one or two, but typically by then, a lot of people are burnt out themselves, which means they're most likely not going to respond either. Which I should mention, if it's not obvious, Artfight breeds a lot of burnout. For some people, the burnout originates from how unexpectedly complicated it is to rapid-fire art pieces with ever-changing subjects. For others, it's finding characters that you want and are able to attack. For even others, it can be how unexpectedly cold and inactive the site can feel despite constantly seeing new characters and new fights being uploaded on the homepage. It can be any of these things, or it can be a mix of them. Point is, burnout is not good. But it's basically inevitable if you try to push yourself past your limits, which a lot of people tend to do because of the month time limit. Now, like I said, these are really me-centric issues, because, shocker, I got problems. But if those were all the issues I'd have, trust me, I would not be telling you guys that. I'm totally fine and normal and well-adjusted. No, the other half of problems I have is with other participants. Well, that wouldn't be completely accurate, because it's not like I have a problem with any specific people. It's issues with some trends I've seen through the behaviors of other users. Now, no one is intrinsically bad or evil if you happen to do anything that I personally dislike, because really, this is just the opinion of a incel LARPer. LARPer incel? Whichever one makes the most sense for me, I wouldn't know. The first point would be people who care too much about winning. Whatever that means. And not in the sense of you want to do better than last year, or you want to improve, you have some spirit of competition in this. I mean the people who try to rig the system to win, whatever that means. And I do think this was a lot worse on both ends of Artfight last year, because I don't know about the year before that, but I do know last year specifically, Fossils versus Crystals blew up on TikTok. And I saw a trend on TikTok where people would make bases to do mass attacks to maximize points. And if I remember right, I might not be, but I at least remember one person who said they were going to make bases for a human centipede mass attack. And that might have been a joke. I didn't follow through with that, because why would I want to see that? But also, why would anyone think that was okay to do? I get that some people don't mind gore of their characters. Hell, some people even encourage it. But I don't think most people are. And I also think most people would assume most people don't want to draw gore of someone's OC. Also, I'm pretty sure, and maybe this is just a me thing, most people that are okay with gore are thinking like, bodily harm, broken bones, blood, not that. Not human centipedes. Guys, just don't. It's not silly, it's not funny, it's desensitization of extreme content. Please do not Elsagate yourself like that. Anyways, so people were, in theory, doing mass attacks like that to game the point system through base mass attacks. And to be clear, I have no issue with mass attacks. When done right, they are so freaking good. Mass attack animations, mass attacks of characters who fit into a theme, two characters from different artists that are just interacting because, I don't know, whatever reason. I love it. They can be really fun. I should do more of them, but I'm a coward and I don't. So my issue is only with the people who are doing bad faith ones just to farm points with no care for the characters or the creators that they're drawing. Anyways, Artfight has largely dealt with that, both through a mixture of users being like, hey, this fucking sucks, and also through Artfight's policy, which states even if you made it, do not use a pre-made base. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this was a thing that did in fact ruin the vibe. But people tried to game the system in more ways than just racking up points dishonestly. This one's a bit harder to prove, but it was definitely feeling that I knew a lot of people, myself included, had. As Artfight has gone more mainstream, I've noticed there's a subset of users that feel like they don't actually want to participate in Artfight. They just have a general vibe of being there only to get art, but they themselves do not want to make art. Like I said, it can't really be proven, so I know this is a controversial take. But these would be people who'd complain, oh, my characters are so cool, but no one's drawing them. And they'd be more prone to pester artists that they attacked, being like, you have to revenge me, I drew your character, why aren't you drawing mine? Your bio says revenge. It was just like a very entitled mindset. And I get it, you want art of your OCs. That is not what this is about. That's half of Artfight, getting art of your OCs, but the other half is drawing art of OCs. This would be about people who would try to farm pity points on other social media, because Artfight's so mean, nobody draws my characters. But then when you went to go check them out, they haven't drawn anyone else's characters either. Maybe they had a few attacks, but there would be a clear difference in effort and care put in between their self-made references and the characters that they've submitted attacks for. And don't misconstrue me, I understand how it can be, because Artfight allows for all level of artists, and that is amazing. Lack of skill is not proof of lack of care or effort, though. It would just be those niche cases where it feels like someone just joined so people would draw their characters, but didn't give a crap about drawing other characters for other people. Maybe it's just a me issue, because much like Asgore, I have a sense of justice, which is oftentimes not logical or rational. But like I said, these are just things that I found discouraging about participating in Artfight. And when people act entitled to free art without, being an active participant, yeah, it's a bit of a mood ruiner. Moving on to a slightly different topic. Some users post characters that I think they hold too dear. Now, I'm not saying you can't have boundaries with your characters. That is fine. You have every right to request people don't draw your characters in situations that would make you feel uncomfortable. But I've seen some character guidelines when looking for people to attack that give me a bit of pause. Sometimes people have guidelines longer than the character info they provide. Things that can be generally summed up as, you can only draw my character in the canon I've created for them. Now, keep in mind, during an event like Artfight, most people probably don't know you. This is the first time ever meeting you and your characters. As such, aside from the information you provide for us, we don't know them. So when I see people with these kinds of restrictions that are longer than the character info, I'm inclined to skip, because clearly you have a very clear idea of what art of this character should look like, and I'm probably not going to be able to meet it. And it's not bad per se, it's your character, you can request whatever you want, but I guess I just don't understand the mentality behind it. If you need people to draw this character 100% accurately, or there's going to be a problem, no matter how cool they are, maybe you shouldn't be putting them in the line of fire. At least the way I view Artfight, and correct me if I'm wrong, I probably am, all of this art is more equivalent to fan art than it would ever be canon art. And the fun part about fan art is creative liberties. The best part for me when I'm drawing fan art of Goreu isn't drawing him in Inazuma with all his armor being the general of the army. No, the best part of fan art is drawing the part of his outfits that I actually prefer, drawing him in a range of expressions and poses, even if they're out of character. The best part is having fun with a character that, yeah, I might enjoy the personality, but I just love the aesthetics of, and I want to explore further. But even if I did have to draw Goreu strictly canon, I have enough information that I can do more than just him in battle. I can have him in a meeting with Kokomi. I can have him writing while enjoying a slice of cake. I can have him stretching before military practice. I know enough about him that I can draw interesting scenarios that are true to his character and lore, that aren't just a portrait of him doing nothing. And I can't do that with a character I just met and know basically nothing about. Once again, I think it is totally fine to say things like, hey, these characters are minors, act accordingly. Hey, this character is, this race. draw accordingly. I think those are completely fine, and it is great to advocate for your character in scenarios like that. It's just, if every single one of your character has to be drawn exactly like you see it in your head by a different artist's hands, you've limited people's ability to draw them in any scenario other than just a still. And most likely, you've killed the interest in your character, which is a shame because I'm sure your character is amazing. Next up, I haven't seen too many reports of this, but it's always something that's nagging in the back of my mind because I have seen people saying they would report because of this. This is just, a call for users to remember Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice, that is which adequately explained by stupidity or incompetence. People can draw your characters wrong, they can mess up a feature, and it might just be because they don't know how to draw the trait that they messed up yet. Most times people will avoid what they can't draw out of insecurity, but if someone draws one of your character traits wrong, before you report it, consider they might be new at drawing said trait. Like, I can't draw noses. I don't draw noses. So if I draw a character that has a unique nose, especially in my more cartoony style, I typically won't draw their nose, or I'm going to heavily simplify it. And it's not because I hate the nose and I think that it's a moral sin and everyone only needs button noses or something stupid like that. I just know I can't draw it. And if I try to draw it, it's not going to look good and it will stand out. And it wouldn't even look good on its own because it's just something that I haven't trained myself to do yet. So just remember, most people don't know how to draw everything, and I don't think they're going on Artfight with the intent to heckle your design. Hateful, offensive art is usually pretty easy to spot in my experience, and it's more than they simplified a Roman nose. And then my final gripe and mood killer that is involved with Artfight would be how hard it is to find other artists on Artfight. Now let me clarify, there's plenty of artists. That's not the hard part. The hard part is finding artists who have more attacks than defenses. I wish there was, and maybe there is and I'm just too stupid to figure it out, but I wish there was a way to search based on attack stats, because I know how demoralizing it can be to have a high attack percentage, because that percentage is the ratio of attacks versus defenses. So the more attacks you do, the more stacked it gets, but if you don't do attacks, then there's a chance that you won't be seen, so then you won't get defenses anyway, so you have to keep doing attacks, and it just kind of leads to doubts. Was my attack so bad that no one would want to revenge it? Are my characters boring and nobody wants to draw them? Is there something wrong with my bio or my character descriptions that are making people avoid them? It stops being oh, this is a huge platform and people just haven't seen me, I haven't gotten in the algorithm, and more of a, I must be doing something wrong to have a ratio like this when there's so many active users. And I think being able to filter for that specifically wouldn't just be reassuring to see that, hey look, it is pretty common to have a high attack stat. You're not alone in that. But also so then I could, give a little love to the artists who've been lacking in defenses. I will say that I did try the randomize feature on the site a handful of times, and every time it kept giving me people who already had a lot of attacks, which I'm sure they deserve. A lot of their characters were really cool, but I'm trying to find someone who doesn't have that level of attention and reciprocation to give love to. And it was really hard, even though I'm sure there's plenty of people like that. And I think that's a reason why a lot of people will go to other social media to advertise their accounts, because the organic search on Artfight is pretty lacking. And it's not that you can't do that. I know a lot of my friends have done it. I should have done it. I guess the whole point of that was to say, I wish search was better on Artfight. Which, similar vein, I wish the website worked on the 1st and 2nd of the month. I know it's really high traffic. I honestly don't know how. You cannot pull up an image during that time, much less have an image, unless you save it, I guess. I always forget to do that. Be able to upload an attack or defense or anything like that. And then by day 3, it's like always fine. So I don't know if there's enough people drop off after day 2 because they're like, wow, this website sucks. It's just a consistent thing I've noticed. Anyways, all of that, maybe a little bit more, but mostly that. Those are the reasons why I heavily considered not participating in this year's Artfight. Because, yeah, it can just be really draining and demoralizing. But honestly, it's not like I'm employed or anything, and I did need to get more consistent with my art style. Especially with characters who aren't Angel. Seriously, I drew her like 3 times in a row, and I don't know why. That's a lie. It's because she's an icon. an incel icon. Little joke for those who know that I tried to make a comic once. But yeah, I was Team Tragedy this year, if you couldn't tell by the cries. And at time of recording, my yearly stat was above 80%, and yeah, that did hurt. That was one of the reasons I made the video. I felt I wanted to complain to someone who wasn't my friend. But I have to keep in mind, it's not because my characters suck or because I suck. Admittedly, their references did suck. They were out of date, and there was only like one for each of them. Except Angels. Hers were actually pretty good. They were monochromatic for fun, so that was probably why she didn't get much attention. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. This was just my opinion. You're not a bad person if you don't have my opinion, or you do things that annoy me. You're right. Do it. Annoy me more. But let me know, do you think I'm valid in my complaints, critiques, and wishes? Or am I just a little crybaby? Maybe I'm a little bit of both. Let me know. But if you are mean, I am going to cry. Thank you as always for watching. My art fight will be linked down below if you wanted to see the pieces I did this year and potentially see me not come back next year like an alpha. The fanfic kind, not the podcast kind. And if you stuck around this long, I was gonna sing LARPer Man, Don't Leave Yet. I'm not ready for that though. I haven't warmed up my vocals. So instead, coming close, I'm gonna tell you a little secret. The next video is going to be my problem with the world building of Heaven and Hell and VisiPop's Helliverse. Okay, so that's our secret between you and me, okay? That's the next video unless it's not, but now you know what I'm thinking and I know that you think that I know. Okay, that's our little secret. Okay, love you, bye!